Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Worthiness Codes podcast. I'm your host, Jaclyn Francis, and as always, it is so beautiful to be in the space with you today. We are opening passage number 6 and awakening the Worthiness Code of Sovereignty. Guys, we are almost at the end. There are 7 worthiness codes, and we're almost there. So just take a moment to really honor yourself. If you have been here since opening the first passage, Worthiness Code 1 of Faith, and you have given yourself permission to dive into the journal prompts, to go deeper with the guided meditations, to listen to every episode, congratulations. Honor yourself. I'm honoring you because I am so excited to have you here, to be part of this journey, to be part of the most exciting journey that you may go on in your life, to really become the most authentic, true, worthy expression of yourself. All of this lives within you, and this is just part of that journey. This is just cracking the surface. As you know, this journey is infinite. It is yours. You make it exactly how you want it to be. I'm just the voice and your guide along the way to, give you support. And I'm truly, truly honored that you have allowed me to be part of this. So thank you guys. Thank yourselves. And let's get into it. Okay, so today we are going to be focusing on the shadow of self-abandonment. This is the pedestal energy where you're most likely functioning from, especially when you're in one-on-one relationships, intimate partnerships, when you're within the workplace or communities, friendships, familiar relationships. And we will be then shifting into the pathway, which is the transformational midpoint energy of authenticity. So before you can really start awakening your most authentic version of self, your most authentic expressions, you are being asked to identify, to become aware of where you're self-abandoning, how it shows up, why it shows up. And once you become aware of it, you can then begin to sit with all of the things that present itself to you, the narratives, the beliefs, the masks that you wear, to accept, to integrate, to then shift into more authentic versions or expressions of who you are, to then ultimately awaken your sovereignty, which we will dive into next week's episode. So this passage is focused on your throat chakra. Your throat chakra is your throat, the energy within your throat, and it's all about truth. It's all about the truths that you tell yourself inwardly. So the narratives that are on repeat, the beliefs that you hold, the identities that you attach to and show up as well as the truths that you communicate outwardly. So those masks you wear, how you show up, how you speak, where you immerse yourself, the clothes that you wear, all of the things that quote unquote make you who you are from that outward view, right? So these truths, you can hold multiple truths. You can hold 2 truths at once when you're really beginning to understand what is authentic to you and what is not. And as we'll dive into the shadow, you'll begin to see what truth is more authentic and what truth is actually tied to like an outdated version of self. So just like all of the worthiness codes, all of the passages, there are so many layers. It can go really deep. You can get as deep as you want. You can begin to really cultivate a profound sense of awareness. And that's part of this journey. It's unlocking deeper senses or deeper expressions and understandings of yourself and choosing through your center, through your connection to your soul, what is outdated and what is not. And that's kind of the theme that you can focus on as you move through this, because the theme that I have tied to this passage is becoming free to be as you are. First things first, the version of you literally right now, know that you are worthy of being that person. You are worthy of showing up as that person just as you are. You are worthy of being accepted and being loved just as you are. You don't have to heal to become better to then be accepted by another person or to then get another job. Of course, there are caveats to that when we think about healing, outdated versions or limiting beliefs or traumas to then be able to embody our truth and what we want to become. But putting that aside, just know that you are beautiful and you are perfect just as you are. And if you are on this journey of ascension and soul level growth and the kind of person that is very self-aware and who can identify if an old pattern is showing up and you want to release that pattern, know that without releasing the pattern, you are still perfect just as you are. So it's giving yourself grace, it's holding self-love, it's holding self-worth throughout the journeys, all versions of you, past, present, future, knowing that you are perfect and you are okay and free to accept all parts of you. Because once you accept all parts of you, then that's when you can show up as your most authentic self, because you are not afraid of being seen. And you understand that other people will then accept you too, because you accept yourself, right? Everything's a mirror. So just a little tangent there, but let's dive in. Okay, let's start with, actually, I missed a part that I wanted to communicate. Going back to the theme, becoming free to be as you are. This passage, this part of your journey is your rebirth. It can be really uncomfortable, just like every shadow, and moving through that is uncomfortable, but this can be really uncomfortable because basically rebirths, you are ridding old identities, old versions of self, old narratives that do not serve you, and tapping into the aspects that are true to who you are. Right? So during that process, during your rebirth, there is a period of cocooning. There is a period where you're being held in this energy of being reborn. And as you move through that, finding that embodiment is essentially like finding your footing. You can feel like a baby learning how to walk. It can be really unstable because you're in all of the newness of who you are, though it's a part of your soul, right? Though it's a part of you, it's still new to the conscious mind. It's still new to the body that you hold. It's still new to the environment. It's still new to how you show up in relationships, how you show up in your work, how you show up in using your voice, how you understand the truths that you never felt safe speaking. So this rebirth it's a profound part of the journey, and it can be uncomfortable. So just know that. Give yourself grace and compassion along the way, just like within every other part of this journey too. Okay. So let's get started. Starting with the pedestal, the shadow of self-abandonment. What is self-abandonment? When we look at the energy of self-abandonment, this is really, I feel like it shows up most strongly in intimate one-on-one relationships, so romantic partnerships or dating. And the reason why I say that is because, especially if you're in a serious relationship, you have a lot more to lose. The fear around losing that person is really deep compared to friendships, compared to coworkers or the way you show up in the workplace, familial relationships, because when we think of family, it's like, okay, that they're there for forever, which is not always the case. Like, some people don't have strong family life. But for those that do and are very close with their family, it's like they're not going to go anywhere really, no matter what. So I feel as the self-abandonment pattern and wounding and expression happens most strongly within those one-on-one relationships. But again, it can happen across the board, and it probably does. But when you self-abandon, you are essentially putting yourself on the back burner. You are putting your voice, you are putting your desires, your needs, your wants, your beliefs, your opinions aside to put the other person first. And the reason why you do this, again, is because you're afraid of not being accepted. And in romantic partnerships, you're afraid of that person then leaving you. So it's heavily tied within the wounds of fear of abandonment, fear of being seen, fear of not being loved, not being accepted, right? So when you do this, you are silencing yourself. When you do this, when you self-abandon, you are not allowing yourself to be authentic, because you are then wearing a mask to fit into a specific box that better represents the person, the version of you through the other's eyes. So if you're in a relationship, think of your partner. Okay, thinking how would they rather see me? So they love me. And this is very subconscious most of the time. Why we do these things. Because the fear that's associated to it is so strong, rooted from childhood, just like everything else. So know that people pleasing is a really simple way to start identifying if you are self-abandoning. You can feel it within your throat when you speak, the vibration of what comes through. If your throat starts to close, you can feel it viscerally in your body when you're hiding from your truth. Because when you show up as your most authentic self, yes, at the beginning it will be uncomfortable, but it's powerful because it's you, it's in alignment, it feels like you. So when you're self-abandoning, when you want to say no, but you say yes to people please, so then you would be accepted. Once you become aware of it, that's going to start feeling so wrong and so icky within your body. And that's beautiful because it's showing you, ooh, like that's not true for me. So as you begin to become aware of how you're self-abandoning, how it's showing up, where it's showing up, you can then start to tap into your authenticity, which we will get into. So this is really important to understand. It's so important to have awareness about if you're self-abandoning. And I'll pause really quickly on intimate relationships and broaden it a little bit, generalize it a little bit to how we can do it more in our daily lives. If you wear a mask, if you're showing up in the workplace as the person that you think is best for the role, whether that's on interviews or in your everyday job, to appease your boss, to fit in with the company culture, to fit in with your coworkers. And look, I get this because I've never been one for working a corporate job, 9 to 5s. Like I always hated it. And it wasn't an authentic expression to me. Now, I mean, there's so many layers to that we don't have to dive into, but it's understanding that like I never felt comfortable in those environments because I was showing up in a way that wasn't true to myself. Like I didn't feel like I can go into the corporate world and talk about spirituality and talk about, manifestation or whatever it is, because I thought people would think I was crazy. So I showed up in a way that fit into the culture of the workspace that I came to every single day. So it's important when we look at that to know, okay, well, this isn't authentic to me. How am I showing up? Why am I showing up? So then you can start showing up in a more authentic way, and either the job will fall away or you'll maybe get a raise or a bonus because you're showing up as your most authentic self. Expanding that now into friend groups and community. Are you wearing a mask when you meet certain friends? Are you wearing a mask when you show up to certain functions? If you're wearing a mask, the people that are receiving you aren't meant for you. So it's like, why would you want them in your life anyway? If they're not meant for you, if they don't like who you actually are, what's the point of having those relationships? So it's important to be able to identify this, because that stuff is going to fall away if it's not in alignment to your truth. And when things fall away, yes, it's uncomfortable and it's scary, especially when it's relationship based with people or security based with, a job, finances, but it's creating space for something that is so much more authentic and in alignment to you to come through. And when that comes through, there's just more abundance within that energy as a whole. You're creating so much space when you allow things to fall away. And this is part of that rebirth process. So now we take it back and pull it in a little bit tighter to those one-on-one romantic relationships. If you look, I can identify with this. When I'm laughing because I just dealt with this, and my relationship, we're no longer together. So it's comical at this point. But when you show up in a way that it's like, I'm not being authentic, I'm silencing my truth because a part of me wants you, my partner, your partner, to so badly accept you, to keep the peace, to not fight, to not trigger. Why are you doing that? Why are you squeezing yourself into a tiny hole to be accepted? When you are this big, beautiful, powerful being, you're making yourself smaller to be accepted by the person that you want to love you. That is just, it's gross. The fact that we do that is gross. And I say that with compassion, because why would you contort yourself? Strip yourself of your truth, of your authenticity to be accepted by someone just for love. That's not love. That's not love at all. The person that is meant for you, the love that is meant for you, it comes from within first. That's a whole other topic. But they are going to accept you wholeheartedly for all parts of you, because you accept yourself for that, because you're allowed, giving yourself permission to be authentic. When you don't give yourself permission to be authentic, you're never going to be accepted by the other person. So if you are contorting yourself and self-abandoning to people please, to fit into certain little holes within that relationship, to then be seen as the one through the other's eyes, the relationship isn't going to work. It's ultimately going to crumble one way or the other. So just know that. Start to become aware as you start to reflect on how you're self-abandoning. But that's why it's so important, because you are attaching to things that are not in alignment. You are holding on and gripping to things, whether that's religion or narratives or people or relationships, like we just said, or jobs, opportunities. You're holding on to it when it's not in alignment. So ultimately it's going to, one way or the other, it's not going to last, because you can only make yourself so small before the foundation breaks and crumbles. So that's why it's important. And once you become aware of it and you start shifting, you truly create so much space to allow yourself to be authentic and to allow those things to come through. So during this process, I want to just reiterate, it's important to give yourself grace and to hold compassion, because of self-abandonment being tied to fear, right? Fear of being abandoned, fear of being seen, being loved. Those are really core childhood wounds. And during your rebirth, you're essentially holding your inner child and awakening those parts to become the most authentic expression of yourself, letting your inner child know that she is safe to be just as you are. So it's important during this process, during the reflection of self-abandonment, to be really, really, really gentle through this whole rebirth, to be really, really gentle, because you're working with the inner child. Okay. Shifting into the pathway, into the transformational energy of authenticity. Authenticity, your authentic expression of self. the most authentic version of you is your truest essence. It's who you are. It's the authentic ways that you show up, the authentic truths that you share inwardly and outwardly. It's no longer being afraid to be seen. It's no longer being afraid to be heard, to speak your truth, to be accepted just as you are. It's accepting all of those parts within you first, to know that you are safe to show up as that, because you are worthy of being just who you are. And yes, like I said, we hold multiple truths. So we can hold multiple versions of self simultaneously. But it's about bringing those fragmented parts into wholeness, because we accept those different parts. So a good example that just came to mind that I can share is myself. I consider myself to be a very grounded spiritual person. I live my life very intentionally. At the same time, I like to let loose and have fun and have a glass of wine, maybe two. I like to listen to hip hop music while also listening to spiritual music. That's authentic for me. I don't have to put a mask on within the spiritual community to just be spiritual Jaclyn. I'm able to, because I accept those two very different parts. They are part of me. They are who I am. I've accepted those parts, and they're, I'm embodying both. I can show up in the spiritual community just as that, while I can then show up with maybe my friends who friendships have fallen away because of these different truths. And that will happen. But the friendships that hold on, they love you for who you are. They accept you for who you are. So I can then show up as my fullest self. I don't have to not speak my truth through a spiritual lens, because that's how I see everything in life. That's who I am. That's how I see the world. I don't have to do that and just show up as the other version of self. When I go on dates, I can be my truest self. I don't have to hide behind a mask to then think the person across the table will accept me. I will show up and speak how I do every single day within my life, because I'm authentic to myself. And it's taken a while to get there. And of course, just as everything, you work through different layers. But that's the example of pulling those fragmented pieces to not allow them to be fragmented, to allow them to be whole, so you can be embodying your authentic expression of self, your fullest level of authenticity. So think, about yourself. This is a great journal prompt to do. To think about all of these versions of self. What's authentic? What's not authentic? Is it fragmented? If it's fragmented, does it want to become whole, or does one want to be released because it's not your truth? That's actually wearing a mask and self-abandoning, right? So these are ways that you can begin identifying, accepting, and embodying. And this is why it's so important, because if everything is a mirror, your inner world is reflected to your outer world reflects your inner world. Your experiences in life is based on the experience you have from within. If you want to call in and align yourself to opportunities, to people, to relationships that are fully accepting of who you are and fully love you and are fully in alignment, that starts with yourself. You can't put that on someone else. You can't not accept all of you and think your partner, your romantic partner, is going to accept those parts of you. If anything, it's going to be the complete opposite. They're going to mirror those parts of you that you have not accepted, to literally show you, hey, look at me. I haven't looked at myself. I haven't looked at these parts. They're not accepted. Right? So that's why it's really important to always give yourself permission to be authentic. So this practice of authenticity, it's a practice. It's getting to know yourself. It's literally getting to know yourself again. And because as an awakened being, as someone who's on this journey, You probably have many different versions that you've moved throughout your life and will continue to move through. But that's the point of life. The point of life is to grow, is to learn, is to expand. So this practice of stepping into authenticity doesn't mean that you are locked into this version forever. It means that this is the most authentic parts of your soul that want to be embodied now. And they may shift over time. But when it's authentic, it's okay. That's part of the process. So it's getting to know yourself through the practices of self-love and acceptance. And that's a formula for confidence. Because you can show up through the ego, through these masks, and be so confident, but that confidence is unauthentic and people can smell that, right? So when you were authentic and you give yourself so much love, you love all those parts of you. You accept all the parts of you. You look at the fragmented versions. You let the parts go that aren't true. You pull in the parts that are to become whole, to embody that. That is confidence. Because when you know yourself and you love yourself and you accept yourself on a level that no one else can compete with, meaning that no one else will love you more because you love yourself so much, that's confidence. That is soul level confidence. Okay, so it's through that practice that you begin to embody your authenticity. And the way to really understand if you've begun to embody your authenticity is the fear dissipates. And of course, fear holds many levels. So when a more authentic version of you wants to be unlocked, that fear may amplify to trigger that authentic expression to move through and embody. We all know this through the shadow work that we've gone through many times on this journey. But the fear dissipates. The fear of being seen lessens. The fear of not being loved lessens. The fear around abandonment starts to lessen. You take off the masks. You no longer show up in your relationship silencing your truth. Because you understand if this person doesn't love my authenticity, then they don't love me. Why am I in a relationship? Same with friendships, same with jobs, right? Your family, different story, but your family will love you through the many seasons and versions of you. If your family dynamic holds unconditional love, and of course, there's probably like control and judgment tied to that. But know that you are safe. And if your family doesn't accept you, that's a whole different journey that you are probably being invited to go on. But know that you are safe to be your authentic self. And the people that do not accept that are not meant for you. The things that fall away are not meant for you. And the more that you allow yourself to show up just as you are, this is how you awaken your sovereignty. And your sovereignty, again, which we will dive into next week, but your sovereignty is your freedom. This being in this energy, you just don't give a fuck about what other people think. You are so unbothered because you are who you are and you love who you are and you know you are worthy of being just as you are. That if someone doesn't accept you, you know that it's okay. It has nothing to do with you. If you're rejected on a date, you know it's okay. It's divine direction from the universe. It's not rejection. You have so much confidence because you hold such unconditional love for yourself that it doesn't matter what people think of you. And of course, it's a journey. Layers will come up. But know that that's your sovereignty. It's your freedom. You don't have to attach to anything outside of you to feel valued, to feel accepted. And it's a really powerful energy, really powerful part of your self-mastery, and a really powerful portal into your worthiness. because authenticity, like, come on, we're all meant to be authentic. We all come into this beautiful life being completely authentic, holding all of those authentic aspects. But then they get buried by societal norms. They get buried by, family upbringing, by wounds through relationships, by trauma that we go through. So much shit. So know that you are perfect just as you are. Love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. Start there. Start there. And yeah, that's all for today. So I will see you next week in Awakening the Worthiness Code of Sovereignty. Don't forget, you really want to dive in deeper. Guided meditations and journal prompts on theworthinesscodes.com. They are priced so reasonably because everyone who tunes in, you guys deserve to really dive as deep as possible. And by no means do you need the journal prompts and guided meditations. You can listen to these episodes and dive in your own terms. But they are there for support, for guidance, because I didn't have that when I went through this journey. And I really, I know it's helpful. So, okay. I love you. I love you. I love you. Until next time. Bye.